I gotta practice. Oh no! The Devil May Cry series has always been on the forefront of what exactly makes character action games really fun and cool to play, thanks to its high-paced action and over-the-top nature. Woo! Of course, each character action game is different, and while they all share a common goal of hacking, slashing, or even shooting enemies to death, it's their systems and mechanics that make them unique from one another. Devil May Cry rewards players with their aggressive combo action and technical variation. Sure, the series had more humble roots in DMC1, which, while an amazing action game for its time, is considerably simple by today's standards, though the game does still have its moments.
I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light!
DMC2. Well, I can at least say that the developers understood what not to do with the DMC franchise, and as a result, we got one of the best character action games in 2005, with Devil May Cry 3, Dante's Awakening. A prequel game that stars Dante as a young, brash, demon-slaying, wacky wahoo pizza man, DMC3 redefined and forever changed what the franchise would become. A high-octane action-packed game where style, combos, and technical skills are the key ingredients for having an insanely fun time. Kind of like a fighting game, but without the embarrassment of getting bodied by your opponent. DMC3 was the game that made me fall in love with the series, and I still have very fond memories of getting good with Dante's kit, and playing the game multiple times on end. I was so hooked, in fact, that when the special edition came out, I could not contain my excitement to play Dante's super cool looking brother. The series has evolved to be more technical and action-packed over the years, especially with Devil May Cry 5 now currently sitting as arguably the most complete DMC package. But while I do go back to DMC5 on occasion for its polished gameplay and Virgil's lack of child support for Nero, there's still something fun and unique about going back to the game that pretty much defined DMC for its current high-paced action. So after 20 years, dang DMC3, you're just about ready to drink. Does it still hold up well today? Devil May Cry's story is as simple as it gets, and it tells a short tale of how Dante became a powerful demon hunter, as well as letting players know that his diet consists entirely of pizzas. In trying to open up his new demon hunting shop, Dante gets a visit from a mysteriously bald individual, mysterious as a person, not the mystery of why he's bald, who extends an invitation on behalf of his brother Virgil. Okay, but where's the invitation? After showing players just how cool and powerful he is, he goes to see his brother in order to stop Virgil's motivation of attaining more power.
I need more power.
That's what I just said, while also meeting a very pretty lady and everyone's favorite jester.
Your tricks will do no good. No good!
Zip it!
And thus we have Dante's adventure in the Temme Nigru, battling all manners of demons in order to get to his brother. It's very basic and straightforward, but that's something you'd expect out of an action game like Devil May Cry, where the story is more of a fun cinematic experience to complement the amazing gameplay. In fact, there's very little in terms of any storytelling aspects in the gameplay itself, and it's all told through the cutscenes. It's very much an action movie thrill ride that conveys its narrative through a lot of set pieces and conversations between each of the different characters. For an older title that's a product of the early 2000s, I found DMC3's storyline to be a fun roller coaster ride that doesn't overstay its welcome. It knows that it's trying to be campy and hammy with the way it handles its narrative action, and it always comes off as a spectacle for the audience. As long as you're not taking it too seriously, there's a lot to enjoy. Without skipping the cutscenes this time around, usually just so I can go straight to gameplay, I still enjoyed the over-the-top nature of the characters and each of their extreme personalities. Dante being smug, a goofball, and a dork for pretty much the entire game, though his one Ikemen Kabedon moment will definitely make the ladies blush. Virgil, who is one cool and classy guy, while simultaneously being the biggest weeb in all of video game history. Lady, who is the spunky, badass demon slayer with her own vendetta. Arkham, who is mysteriously evil and in need for a medical exam for his face, and Jester, who is an actual clown. Being both the protagonist and the primary villain, I do like Dante and Virgil's dynamic. Their brotherly squabble is rather humorous and ironic given their vast power, yet they see fit to try and defeat each other with it and continue to act very childish. Dante's relationship with Lady is also a fun one too, as they try to have a civil conversation with bullets.
Ooh, I love a fast woman.
A very anime cast that fits the fun action tone of DMC3 like a glove, and the interactions between each of the characters, though absurd and outlandish, always makes for a fun time. Well, of course, it's not going to have the most intricate or deep plot. Oh, no, not that plot. It's a good story complement that you can't really ask for anything more. I will admit though, I actually did tear up a little the first time I saw the final scene between Dante and Virgil.
I'm staying. This place was our father's home.
I couldn't wait for you to come and clear the cupboards.
At its base, DMC3 performs like your standard hack-and-slash action game, where the near majority of the levels have you defeat enemies in order to progress through a stage. The combat pace of DMC can be described as being aggressively offensive, and the game never wants you to slow down during fights. You're always getting into enemies' faces and try to do as much damage to them as possible. What helps facilitate this process is the stylish rank system. As an incentive for gaining more red orbs, which is the game's currency for buying items and upgrading equipment, DMC3 rewards players for changing up the types of weapons that Dante uses, as well as the types of combos that he performs on each enemy. The higher the rank, the more red orbs will be dropped when the enemy is defeated. However, the ranking system is constantly diminishing whenever you're not performing moves or repeating the same moves too many times. This creates a sense of urgency to switch moves up, as well as rush down enemies, thereby always pressuring the player to keep up their offense. Of course, there is nothing stopping you from coasting through the game and defeating enemies by using the same moves over and over again, if you're a scrub, but because the game gives you better rewards for how good and varied your gameplay is, you get faster access to upgrades as a result of your technical combo skills. Plus, it's never really fun to just mash the same moves over and over again, and DMC would honestly be a boring game if that were the case. But because combat is dynamic, varied, and skill-based, it literally feels rewarding to get good at this game, something I've always enjoyed about 3, 4, and 5. To further complement this style of gameplay, Dante also gets access to a wide arsenal of weapons and styles that you can use to customize how you want to play. For the weapons, you unlock a few as you progress through the game, each with their own unique movesets and traits that no two weapons ever feel the same, leading to some fun customizations to tailor combat. I've always had fun changing weapons up on different levels and playthroughs just to experiment and try something different. The styles are the other unique mechanic that Dante can use in combat. You initially get a choice of 4, and they all change the dynamic of Dante's gameplay by giving him options to his 4th action button. Trickster grants you a teleporting dodge, but can also help you zip faster around enemies and even run around walls. Swordmaster grants you extra combo potential for each of your melee weapons. Gunslinger empowers your guns while giving them extra moves, and Royal Guard gives you a parry move that can also double as an extremely damaging attack if timed right. These styles are an even greater complement to Dante's arsenal, and they make each level different since you can only select one. They are extremely fun to utilize, and every time I've played DMC3 on different occasions, I've always prioritized using a different style each time. This run made me want to use Royal Guard, because parrying is just too damn fun not to do. Thanks Sekiro for giving me Stockholm Syndrome with parrying. It's also how the game handles its enemy types that make the combat feel complete. There's a good variation from simple enemy fodder who have telegraphed attacks, more aggressive enemies with different attack patterns, enemies with specific gimmicks that you have to take into account, and some of the best boss variety that you will see out of any game from 2005. They were all really fun to fight, and each of them still tested my mettle after all these years. It's all of these combined systems that really make DMC3's combat one of the most aggressively fun action games to play. It's the creative use of the weapons and styles that has always kept DMC3 from aging. Heck, Even DMC5 has essentially the same base system as DMC3, just with a lot more things, since it's obviously a sequel. I may be a bit biased since I've put a lot of time into perfecting and learning each character's movesets across 3, 4, and 5, but it's such a technical and creative method to the hack and slash combat that it never feels out of date for me. If you are coming from 4 or 5, where Dante can switch styles on the fly, the limitation to 1 does make him feel a little grounded. But I was honestly fine with it for DMC3 because the enemy types and combat pacing never feels like you need to have access to all 4 of them at once. Though if you would like Dante to have style switching, then the remake on the Switch is the option for you, since they gave it to him there. Sadly, not the option on any other ports at the moment. Similarly, his moveset can feel a bit vanilla, but this is kind of obvious considering this is his first technical iteration. As if Dante wasn't enough, the later release special edition also includes Virgil in his first ever playable appearance. For a lot of fans, including myself, this was the icing on the cake when we came back to DMC3. Virgil having his own unique moveset and styles was the epitome of how to re-release a game and give fans even more to love. Again though, if you are coming from 4 or 5, Virgil will feel like the most vanilla in terms of his moves. It is a bit of a missed opportunity that Virgil doesn't actually have his own campaign, and he's basically just replaying the same levels that Dante went through. The same thing is actually repeated in 4 and 5. There's also a bit of awkward camera work that still plagues the game during certain sections of combat. I didn't have the biggest problem with it, but I can understand if DMC3 will frustrate you when its camera system is a bit shy with showing you everything. Outside of the core combat gameplay, there will be a few other puzzles mixed in, and they're a nice addition to break the monotony of combat and give your hands a break from all the button mashing. Except for the combat adjudicators, you will definitely get carpal tunnel trying to fight them. The various other additions, like the different difficulties, playing as Virgil, and Bloody Palace, will give you some final incentives to play just a bit longer before you're finally done. Or obsess over if your OCD prevents you from leaving.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Overall, the gameplay is still the best part about what makes DMC3, and the single biggest reason this game holds up today. Being of the PS2 era, the graphics are pretty dated, even with the HD remaster to make the models and environments look more proper for modern resolutions. But while they do look their age, if there's anything to commend the game on, it's the engine and the art design that DMC3 has. The dreary, almost apocalyptic looking landscape adds to the hellish and barren aesthetic that the game is trying to go for. When you're in the Temeni Gru, you'll be seeing a lot of different styles of architecture that range from gothic, steampunk, to almost futuristic aesthetics. It's a wild mishmash that invokes the limbo-like nature of the tower that Dante has to climb, and even has some allusions to the actual Divine Comedy itself. The basic demonic enemies, while looking somewhat humanoid in their appearance, have a wide range of disheveled and hellish look to them, each with their own distinct silhouette to stand out and differentiate between one another. Others look way more monstrous or ethereal in their design, and they all fit the game's hellish tone very well. The same goes for the bosses. Cerberus looks extremely vicious and imposing as the first real boss. Nevin is easy on the eyes, but she'll take your soul.
I had snoo.
Headless Agni and Rudra make for imposing guardsmen, the pissed off and Pazuzu looking Beowulf, and of course the ever cold and edgy brother, Virgil. It's a wide range of distinct yet awesome looking bosses that make DMC3. For the main cast, Dante himself doesn't look half bad, and I like his more simplified young, bad boy look in this game. Though him being a cowboy in 4 was kinda funny. Ladies' open white collared shirt and miniskirt combo is definitely Arkham does look rather simple, but the fact that he has this weird moving scar definitely makes it a little more imposing and terrifying. Also, one of my favorite inclusions for this game is the special guest artist Kaneko Kazuma. He's known for a very specific art style in the Shin Megami Tensei series, as well as some inclusions in Persona. But for this game, he actually did the Devil Trigger designs for Dante and Virgil. They are very, what most people describe as bug-like and kind of futuristic, but I do like that style of techno-insect-like devil, even if it's not the hellish devil-looking design that the other games portrayed Dante with. What's also really cool about the devil triggers in this game is that all of the weapons have their own devil trigger forms, and each of them look very thematic and absolutely cool. The sound is definitely one of the most technical aspects about the presentation that holds up well for DMC3. Everything from the sound of firearms, weapons, demonic noises, magical machinery, ethereal beings, it's a very demonic-esque soundscape with modern weapons clashing that make DMC3. The music is also the best complement to the edgy yet cool tone of the game. It's an interesting mix of mostly heavy metal soundtracks and a few, I want to say gospel or choir-like pieces in between. A sort of heaven and hell feeling that DMC tries to portray, and they all fit pretty much 99.99% of the action pieces that are scattered throughout the gameplay and cutscenes. The voice acting here is also pretty good. It's not going to take top awards in terms of emotional roles that will leave you shook, but the voice cast is really good at making the characters feel hammy and fun without losing their sense of charm.
No doubt you've got some fun planned for me. Right, Virgil?
Arkham. Well, doesn't it excite you? The Timon has revived. The Great One, who once ruled this earth as the medium between the human world and the demon world.
Give that to me. No way. You got your own. Well, I want yours too. What are you gonna do with all that power, huh? No matter how hard you try, you're never gonna be like Father.
Although dated, a very thematic presentation and soundscape that befits the whole aesthetic of Devil May Cry 3.
Whoa!
For a game that forever changed the direction of Devil May Cry, it's kind of amazing how it manages to still feel fun to play despite the 2 decades that have gone by. It's just such a fun action romp of a game, and the way the weapons, mechanics, and styles are designed to complement each other that it never makes the game feel boring. I think it's both the speed and complexities at which this game employs that still make it feel fun for me. Maybe I'm just speaking as someone who loves games that demand some technical skill and execution, as well as games that run at breakneck speed, but it's exactly this level of complexity that keeps it up to date. You can even see in DMC 4 and 5 just how much of 3's DNA largely comprises those games. But even if you strip away the nuance and improvements that the later games added, you'll still get a very refined action game with a lot to like, and that's exactly what DMC 3 still is. A very solid and fun to play character action game that holds up very well. But that's gonna do it for today, guys. Thanks for sticking around. There will be more games to play and more videos coming soon, so please stay tuned if you'd like to see more. But for now, I'll see you all next time.